Okay, this is English 321, week 7, part 2. I would ask you guys, I always ask you to go on the discussion board and make comments and stuff. I think this film is going to need more comments from you than usual. And I'll tell you, it's because this is, all the other videos I made was me making a video of a film that earlier I had shown students in real life. All the movies that I recorded, I had taught students at BMCC pre-pandemic. Virgin Suicides is in a very different zone for me because I've never taught it before, so I'm just kind of trying this out, but I don't have an audience. I'm not used to that, or even a remembered audience that I can kind of think about. So, all right, let's dive right in. It has some real similarities to Blue Velvet. You'll probably notice that immediately. It has a very dreamy. It takes place in the suburbs like Blue Velvet, and it's a very dreamy suburbs. It's like very kind of relaxed and chill and cool and nice. It's a beautiful place. It even opens up with the same thing that Blue Velvet opens up with, which is a guy watering the lawn. Now this guy doesn't have some kind of weird attack, and you see a bunch of bugs in the ground, but it's the same basic idea. It's sort of the beautiful suburbs. And David Lynch used the natural world with the bugs to show the horror going on underneath the suburbs. Sofia Coppola does something similar here. She has the diseased trees, the elm trees on the street, and these trees are kind of like the symbol of sort of beautiful suburban living. In the city, it's all concrete, but in the suburbs, you get these tree-lined streets. But in this neighborhood, the trees are sick with something. And it's the same kind of thing that David Lynch is interested in with the bugs. Actually, David Lynch's dad was literally was a sort of tree scientist, park ranger, who dealt with diseases in trees, which is interesting. Anyway, so there's the sick trees. It has the same kind of idea there. Okay, cool. You also see in Lynch, right in the beginning of the movie, a very similar kind of move that you see Lynch doing when he cuts from the beautiful suburbs to this attack and the bugs. David Lynch Sofia Coppola has a very similar thing that she does, where it's this beautiful, dreamy, happy suburbs, and then there's a hard edit into Cecilia trying to commit suicide in the bathtub. So once again, it's the idea that the suburbs are very beautiful and lovely on the outside, and there's something kind of rotten and unpleasant in the middle. And after Blue Velvet, and I think this is an experience many people have of America, that from a distance, America, land of the free, home of the brave, and all men are created equal and that kind of thing. But then when you actually get here, it's like rotten, and there's all kinds of fucked up things. So, all right, cool. And the image that they jump to when you see Cecilia in the bathtub. Is right before you see her is the sort of perfumes on a countertop, and there is a necklace with a crucifix on it. It's a beautiful. Sofia Coppola I don't know how to describe it. It's like she's poetic. She picks these images that are very dreamy and very beautiful, and the image of all the perfume bottles and the light coming in the room, and the crucifix sort of hung on them, women's things. And that's going to become a very crucial part of the story, is the sort of things, that the mystery of women, and it's actually a big theme of Unit 2. Double Indemnity, we have Barbara Stanwyck and her kind of strange, mysterious, as she's this sort of heartless killer, and she's leading our, Walter Neff into trouble, and we'll see this again in some, anyway, it's a key thing in Unit, and of course Vertigo, which we'll see later, and Lost Highway will pick this up. So that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to grab this. Okay, cool. All right, sorry, I'm just making some notes here on what I want to talk about. Yeah, Cecilia's attempted suicide in water. It's worth pointing out that this is the beautiful girl who has killed herself in water is something that haunts the imagination of a lot of people for hundreds and hundreds of years across more than one continent. A key part of this is because of Hamlet. If you took my English 250 class, I made you do Hamlet. So some of you may know what I'm talking about here, but Hamlet has Ophelia. And Ophelia is the beautiful girl who no one understands and who drowns, sort of by suicide. And people thought her the fact that she died young and in water, people just thought it was so beautiful. It's one of Shakespeare's most beautiful passages is Hamlet's mom describing what Ophelia looked like when describing her drowning. It's a beautiful piece of poetry, and many famous painters were inspired by it to create paintings of Ophelia drowning in water. And you can just Google search like Ophelia painting, and you'll see all these pictures of this beautiful girl floating in water. And it pops up in movies a lot too. Lars von Trier uses it in his movie Melancholia, which also stars Kirsten Dunst and is the most depressing movie ever made. By the way, I sat behind Kirsten Dunst at a restaurant once. I sat down, and she was like one table over, and I couldn't speak because Kirsten Dunst is a goddess. The other crucial thing about the other thing I want to point out with Ophelia is the same thing happens in this movie that happens to Ophelia in Hamlet, which is that the priest says, "I've declared her death to be an accident." When and I realize she attempted suicide in the water, but she actually dies later, and we'll talk about that. But the priest comes in after Cecilia is dead. By the way, I'm sorry if I've said committed suicide. I'm going to try to avoid that. Completed suicide. The phrase "committed suicide" makes it sound like a crime, and it's sort of judgy, and I don't really want to do that. I mean, obviously, don't kill yourself, but I'm against that. I want you all alive. Just Stay Alive, one of my favorite songs. But I still think it's sort of judgy and rude to sort of be like committed suicide. It's like committed arson. It sounds like you've done a moral sin, whereas actually we tend to treat suicide more of like a mental illness. But we'll talk more about that. So the priest says that she has. He says, "I've declared her death an accident." It's an important moment in both Hamlet and in Virgin Suicides, because what he is saying is that in the Catholic Church and in the church that sort of Hamlet is a part of, committing suicide is where is a sin. And in fact, in that sense, the word committed suicide is the word they want to use to describe it, because it's considered sinful, and you do a sin, you go to hell. So for a lot of Catholics, and this is less true of modern Catholics, but I think Cecilia's mother, Miss Lisbon, is a more intense Catholic who may believe that since her daughter committed suicide, her daughter's soul has gone to hell. It's a belief. It's important for understanding Cecilia's mother, Miss Lisbon, that she may think her daughter's in hell. And so the priest says he's declared it an accident because it means they can give her a proper funeral. Because traditionally, in the old days, people who committed suicide didn't get a nice funeral. They just kind of got dirt dumped on them and nobody wanted to talk about it or go. And there's all kinds of rituals you do in Catholicism when somebody dies, and these rituals were not allowed to be performed on people who completed suicide because it was a sin, and you're not supposed to do all that stuff for a sinner. You're supposed to do that stuff for a good Catholic. And so it's a very crucial part of both Hamlet and Virgin Suicides is this idea that this extremely Catholic family may believe, and the sisters may also believe, that their little sister has gone to hell. The family is one detail that you might not have picked up on that really emphasizes the Catholicism is 5 girls, each born 1 year apart. Right, the girls are 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. This is an idea within the Catholic Church which tends to see sex as only okay if it's for procreation. That recreational sex, the birth control sex, the kind of sex I think the girls are interested in at this age of their lives, the kind of sex that you see Lux engage in, is not supposed to produce a baby. But the kind of sex that Miss Lisbon has, I think, results in one child. She has a child every year, so she's pregnant 9 months of the year, and then within the next 3 months she's pregnant again, and she does that 5 years running. That's why she's got a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 17-year-old. They're all girls, which suggests, and they're all girls who die before their parents, which suggests King Lear. But that's another Shakespeare connection. I don't think we need it right now, but I'm just going to toss it out there as another famous tragedy. I don't think there's a lot to be done there, but I do want to kind of briefly mention that. Okay, cool. We're doing good. Yeah, what else do I want to say? Sofia Coppola's style, like Lynch, it's dreamy. You can just get lost in these images. The opening image of Kirsten Dunst with a popsicle just kind of looking at the camera, and she walks away. It's cool. I don't know. It's hard to describe cool. It's hard to describe charisma. But that's what Sofia Coppola has in this film. It's dreamy, and it's sexy, and it's cool, and it's slightly unreal. The big faces, hovering over the screen, and these kinds of girls in a field, and it's very poetic and dreamy and beautiful and cool. Okay, I'll pick it up in the next video. I'm so glad to be making these videos. I miss you all. All right.